Welcome back to PM Agenda, and this time each week we're taking a look at what's happening online, our social media segment. In this election year, social media is going to be very important indeed, increasingly important it seems in elections these days, and we're looking at what politicians are doing online, but also, most importantly, what people are doing online, what they're interested in, how they're reacting to issues, and some of the more intriguing ways that politicians are engaging voters as well. Joining us this week, our very own Sky News social media editor, John Bergen. Tommy Tudor-Hope is a social media commentator, and joining us from Melbourne, Isabel Oderberg is News Limited National's social media editor. Basically means you all spend a lot of time tweeting and doing various things online. I want to start with what we're going to call the tweet of the week. Now, John, you're picking this out for us each week. What have you gone for as the tweet of the week?
Look, there was a lot of prime contenders this week, but I felt that Labor Senator Trish Crossan simply had to get the gong for the top tweet of the week.
Let's have a look at it.
Yep, and I'll read it out just for your benefit as well. First day of the federal parliamentary sitting starts today. Let the campaign, work begin. And now I picked that obviously because there's been a lot of talk since Gillard called the election about whether or not we're in a virtual sort of election footing or a quasi-election footing, a lot of uncertainty in the implications of that. She's poured cold water over that, saying, no, everybody take a Bex and have a lie down. We are not in an election mode until the houses are dissolved and the writs are issued and the like. We have a senator out here who's, as it's fair to say, is a little bit aggrieved because of what's happened lately.
I mean, Tom, it goes to show that politicians can have a jab at their own side online, but it's no less, a sign of being upset, a sign of disunity, than saying it publicly.
Yeah, that's right. I think a lot of MPs are guilty probably of tweeting before they think. And there's probably MPs on both sides who tweet a little bit too incessantly and probably put a bit too much information out online.
I wouldn't say Trish Crossan's one of those, though.
No, she's not, but I think this is quite good. I thought it was funny, to be honest. But, I think for honourable tweets, I think we need a bit of a mention to some of the stuff in ICAC.
Yeah.
Sally Sara had a great one about there being more tapes at ICAC than in the Datsun 120. But yeah, some of the stuff from Kevin Wild and Kate McClelland at ICAC has been very entertaining.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's been, Isabel, you don't need to have been sitting in that ICAC hearing really to keep up to date with all the various, salacious revelations about Eddie Obeid and Ian McDonald and the rest of it. You do get a ringside seat when you're watching in real time on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that about pretty much any news event these days, whether you're talking about drugs in sport or politics or just about anything else. But if I was Trish Crossan's social media advisor, I'd be sort of advising her to just take a step back and just think before she tweets, because what might seem, glib and funny can go quite wrong if you overstep the line. So I think it's one thing to kind of be lighthearted, and it's another thing to kind of make some pretty big mistakes that could come back to haunt you.
Isabel, what do you think have been the big issues through the week that have played strongly online, particularly on Twitter and Facebook? What have people been most interested in?
I think the drugs in sport issue
story today,
over the last and at Essendon as well earlier in the week has just eclipsed everything as far as I'm concerned. We've had everything from internet memes of Lance Armstrong in an Essendon jersey all the way through to some pretty funny one-liners. But in all seriousness, I think it's really important, and I think that the sporting codes will be watching really closely what the fans say, because the fans have been really, really vocal on Twitter, on Facebook.
What are they saying?
Oh, they're saying just about everything. I don't know if you could, because there are so many different views and opinions, but I think that people are just genuinely scared about what it means for sport going forward, and what are the additional revelations that we haven't actually heard yet. Like what other skeletons are going to come racing out of the closet? It's pretty frightening stuff if you've read the report.
No, absolutely, and potential for teams to really be thrown in a lot of trouble at the start of this season. But politically, John, when we look at the big issues this week, there was this argument from the opposition that I think Julie Bishop's word was we're in virtual caretaker mode now that the Prime Minister's named the election date, and that set off a real argument online.
It certainly did. There was a lot of feedback on Twitter of people saying, look, there's no such thing as virtual caretaker mode. This is just being a little bit cheeky. I suppose it's akin to saying that you're a little bit pregnant. It's logically impossible. A lot of people, a lot of traction was gained on this. People were reacting to it quite negatively, saying, look, you're just trying to muddy the waters. You're just trying to be a wrecker. You're just trying to sort of like upset the apple cart. And a great tweet that's probably worth mentioning is that sort of, obviously Mark Dreyfus came out and said, no, look, guys, just settle down. This obviously is not in caretaker mode. And a great tweet came from About the House, which is the news and updates from the House of Representatives.
From the actual House of
That's
Parliament,
right.
yeah.
Which helpfully tweeted, if you are having trouble locating it, page 60 in Chapter 2 of the House of Representatives practice outlines caretaker conventions, which was an until subtle jab to them saying, go and read a book. It's right there in black and white for all to see. So I thought
it goes to show that even the stuffy old House of Representatives guys, they're online, they're watching what's going on and getting into the debate.
Even public servants have a personality online.
Who would have
Even
thought?
public servants.
And there was also the Prime Minister's message to her caucus during the week about stop leaking, essentially, or stop
Exactly right.
stop talking down the government. That played pretty big too, Tom.
Yeah, definitely. I think that played out quite heavily on through on Monday and Tuesday. But as expected, it's quite funny that you have a call to your caucus stop leaking, and that gets leaked, and it's quite funny. But I think a lot of these issues that play out online have a very short time frame. They tend to peak. We hit peak outrage quite quickly, and then we move on to the next issue. And I think moving forward in this campaign, it'll be interesting to see whether either political party or either leader can sustain any sort of conversation beyond that 1 to 2 day period, whether they can get some more traction about real issues for a longer period of time. That's where the real message will get cut through, rather than these, virtual caretaker leaking. It's all.
I want to look at how politicians have gone this week, and Trish Cross, and mixed views on that. But Kevin Rudd, he's really had a re-emergence or a renaissance in terms of his online activity. Show us some of the stuff that he's been doing.
Look, he's back with a vengeance. I mean, we all thought that there was not going to be any sort of talk of leadership speculation. I, for one, thought it was the calling of the election was going to be a nail in the coffin of Kevin Rudd, or anyone else for that matter, making a comeback. Not so. Eating lots of humble pie this week.
So this is something that we're looking at now, something he's put on himself,
right. Look,
with his grandchild there, obviously.
Right. That's his granddaughter Josephine, and Jessica Rudd, of course. He's taken to social media in recent days to really connect with his electorate and the voters. He's been out and about at markets, getting mobbed at shopping centres. He's also released a couple of great still pictures of him playing with his granddaughter as well. And this just goes to show you that it's a great way for social media to circumvent the traditional gatekeeper.
There's always an argument about whether politicians should bring their families into their public life.
Definitely.
Social media for most people is a thing where you do that sort of thing. But what about politicians doing it, putting pictures and videos of the grandkids?
Yeah, I'm all for personality. I think we need more intuitive and organic personality online. But I think it becomes down to the individual politicians what they're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable sharing things about your family, I don't think you should. And I think you should choose the medium very carefully, Facebook or YouTube. I think in Kevin's case, he uses it fantastically well, and it's probably only a coincidence that he's put 8 videos out in the last 7 days and only 4 in the last 4 months. So obviously it's just coincidence that this activity's happened lately.
There's a little bit of talk about leadership. Isabel, what do you think about the way he's using Twitter and Facebook?
It's really interesting, because I went to his feed today to have a little bit of a read through, and when you go to his tweets over the last 24 hours or even longer, the thing that's quite astonishing is that he is responding to every single tweet that comes in from anyone, right?
Well, he's got some time on his hands, let's face it.
I'm just saying, I'm not judging him, I'm just saying, and I'm not one to talk, I spend a fair amount of time looking at lolcats too, but the thing that you notice is that even people that are just saying, hi Kevin, how are you? And he's actually responding individually to every single tweet that comes in. And it's really, really impressive. But it is also incredibly time consuming. And I think that he has got a campaign of his own going on social media at the moment. I don't know whether, as John mentioned, I saw the video of him at the market celebrating Vietnamese New Year and a few other things, and he definitely seems to be sending a message that he is approachable, that he's, that people can talk to him directly using social media and he'll respond.
I think the challenge here for Kevin's got an enormous audience but he's got to be able to demonstrate. He got smashed in the caucus room in the ballot last time. He needs to demonstrate that his online persona and that influence he has online, huge Twitter following, his YouTube videos are very, very good. He has to convince his caucus colleagues that that is a campaign mechanism that will help the government. And he uses it far better than Gillard. I think he's an exceptional user of social media, but he needs to take that one step further.
Look, we're sadly out of time, but as we go to the break, we might have a look at Bob Katter, who also went pretty viral online as well, riding a bike.
Riding a bike, yeah. This is a great video of him on Vimeo. It's courtesy of Haywire, which was an ABC sort of competition in space for regional kids to sort of tell their own stories. And he's riding not a fixie. Everyone has been at pains to tell me on social media it's actually a a single-speed bike.
Having a bit of trouble too, it must be said. But he got there in the end. Look, we'll have to wrap it up. We'll let you keep watching that as we go to the break. Yep. John Berg and Tom Tudor-Hope and Isabel Oderberg, thanks so much for joining us this week. Thanks, guys. Enjoy that one. Thank you.